This episode of Boss Rush After Dark is brought to you by, well, you. If you want to learn how to support our family of podcasts, head over to patreon.com/bossrushmedia or search for us on the Patreon app on your smart device. Thanks for helping us build something better.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Boss Rush After Dark, the alternative podcast show for the Boss Rush Network. I am your host, LeRon, and back with me tonight are the wonderful Stephanie and Corey. What's up, fellas? And well, what's up, people?
Hello.
Hey.
I don't mean to misgender anybody.
Oh,
I'm
please.
sorry.
I respond to guys, fellow, you. I'm cool.
And joining us
Stephanie
tonight
hello.
And joining us tonight is an all-star from the Boss Rush Network. A lot of you people know this face or recognize his voice. It's always a pleasure whenever the wonderful Jesse Douglas is in the house.
Yeah, my face might be a little bit skinnier now.
Hey, dude, welcome to After Dark. Wait, this is your first After Dark, right? Because you've been on a Boss Rush podcast with us, but I don't think you stayed around for After Dark afterwards. Am I correct?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever been on one other than like we did the one with a long time ago with the Bad Bitches, but
Yeah, it was like our very first attempt at this thing.
Yeah.
A long time ago.
yeah.
This was pre-LeRon.
Which
Actually, I was around for the Bad Bitches, but I just never got a chance to like collab with them.
Oh yeah, and they don't podcast anymore. I don't think so, which is kind of a bummer.
Yeah. That sucks. They were cool.
Yeah, they were.
I'm still friends with them on Facebook, but yeah.
Yeah. So, how's everybody doing? Like, it's the second week of the new year. And is 2023 treating you better than 2022 did?
Yep. Not panicking at all. Not stressed out about anything.
Which means yes.
Life's going good. I've
You say that.
slept at least 8 hours a night. Doing great.
The only way I sleep 8 hours a night is whenever I take a CBD before I go to bed.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like I touched on it a little bit on the regular episode, but like divorce, it's still a lot of struggle for me. There like I don't mind talking about it a little bit, but
Well, you know what?
You don't have to talk about anything you don't want to talk about.
No,
though,
well,
Jesse,
no, I'm fine with talking about it.
Well, if you want to, if you want to, and you're able to talk about it, I do have a question.
Yeah,
because like I don't have any friends who've actually gone through divorce in real time.
yeah,
in real time. So what was like? What was the biggest, I guess, obstacle, in this whole thing that you had to experience?
Well, I'm still going through a lot of struggle, oversharing, talking about things that I probably shouldn't be as much as I do on social media. I just need to stay off of it. But really, like for me, like I'm struggling to figure some of the stuff out because there's things that come and go, that words and titles and things that people will talk about, and sometimes you don't hear about them, sometimes you do. And like my problem is with everything. So I'm sure people have heard of the word narcissist. um so like it's hard to say, like looking back at everything, like I feel like maybe she is one,
Hmm.
or was one. Oh no, it would have to be is, because there is no like you're not a narcissist and then you become one, as far
Yeah.
as I know, and except for like childhood, like that's where it's kind of. But so like my situation with my divorce is kind of difficult because like I was, so when she told me that she wanted a divorce, she had said she hadn't loved me for 3 years, but kept me around. Mind you, during that time, there's a lot of things that I should have noticed, I guess, that were kind of hints. Um, and like my marriage, like I loved her to death. Honestly, I still do, and that's
Hmm.
part of the struggle still. Um, but there's things that I should have noticed, but I didn't, and until hindsight and looking at things. But I didn't get that. Like, first off, she didn't ever want to try. Like, there was multiple times where I've tried talking to her in the past, like, because I told her right out multiple times, like, I don't even really know you anymore, like, because we became so distant. And there were
Hmm.
times where I tried to bring that up to start a line of communication that never got started. I would say stuff like that, like we need to spend more time together, we need to do this, and she would just say, yeah, I know, and that's as far as it went. Yeah, I know. Okay. Like, yeah, I
Engaged,
know.
like she disengaged.
Yeah, and so, like, I mean, that, like, so, back to the whole like, there's just certain things that happened that make me, that looking into narcissism and the way that things play out and how things happen when you're in love with the narcissist, a lot of those things happen. Like I feel like, like the beginning of our relationship, like she was seriously like holy shit, the universe like created this person specifically for me, right? like
Hmm.
like it was that, like I was that amazed at how similar we were. And like I wanted to be with this person for the rest of my life, like no doubt. Like there was no doubt in my mind. And then we got married, and kids came along, and things happen understandably when you have kids. Like your sex life and things like that kind of get put on hold a little bit. No, not in all cases. Like, I mean, they tell people that you shouldn't have sex for a reason, because there's a lot of people that don't want to give that part up. But it's understandable that kind of takes a back seat for a little while. But that little while kind of turned into a lot of rejection, and for years and years and years. And I went into the relationship with no insecurities, no nothing, but that stuff started to get created because I felt like that like, okay, well, like I shouldn't have to be asking for this all the time. Like, this is something you should be wanting all the, like, wanting too. Like,
Mhm.
like, but that part of it where we were both wanting it, like in the beginning, and then it turned into just me like wanting it, and her never like, putting any effort into anything, like any of that kind of stuff, like that disappeared. And I became more and more insecure and more depressed, because that like sex in some sense isn't super important, but it is at the same time.
I
Like
would argue it's
like
very important, but I'm
yeah,
biased.
Yeah.
yeah. Like, I mean, like that there's a connection that you can have with a person that really only is made stronger, I feel like, through that. And when that connection is being completely cut off, and I feel like a child asking their parent if they can go play like all the time, like that really really it's hurtful. Like it was hurtful, like very hurtful in some ways. And so that like became the norm. Like there was no like her surprising me with things, or there, or dressing. And and she says that was because of her insecurities, and I understand that. But like when the things do happen and I'm like telling you that you're crazy to think that I would ever for a second care about anything superficial. Like I married you for a reason, and I'm trying to constantly reassure you that there is no reason for you to ever feel that, that way, or that I'm not going to love you or be interested in you in the way that I've always been. Like now, like, you know I understand insecurities, because like I said, like I was starting to develop them too because of what was happening. um and so yeah, like that kind of became the norm. And periodically throughout a relationship, like I would try to talk about it and it didn't go anywhere. And I'll be honest, like things changed, stuff happened. um and it was like, when I would bring it up, is like, oh well, I'm only interested in that kind of stuff at this and this time of the day. And it's like, well, then you start to feel like, okay, so I'm only good enough at this and this time of the day. Like, like if that's what you're saying, like that's how it feels, like. And and I didn't feel appreciated. Sometimes I didn't feel respected. um Towards the end of my relationship, she literally was teaching the kids whenever I talked to just do this while I was talking. Like
Yikes.
teaching the kids to do shit like that. Like, I mean,
Wow.
that's fucking hurtful.
Yeah.
Like, so, and, mind you, she'll say, well, that's when I didn't love you anymore, or whatever. But still, like,
That's still not.
so, okay,
Yeah.
you're not a good friend then, even if you're doing that, like, right. And like, and so I bring up a lot of stuff. Like I still, like, I'll throw stuff in her face, and I probably should just not and get over it. But it's like, I feel like I'm being.
If you want to be a Patreon producer, head on over to patreon.com/bossrushmedia, and find out which tier is right for you. Our Patreon producers at the $5 tier or higher for this month are Adriel Munger, Austin Campbell, Celeste Roberts, Christian S., Sana Dierig, Francisco Santillan, and Rebecca Jewell. Thank you for your continued support.
Like discounted, like, like when I bring up stuff, and it's just like, oh well, blah blah blah, well it's too late now, blah blah blah. And it just like it's being rolled over, and it's like, whatever, like I just have a lot of feeling like maybe my feelings and the things that I felt and all that, it just didn't really matter to you. Like, I didn't matter enough to want to even try to fix this ever. Like, never tried once to try to fix this. You would rather get rid of it, and then fuck it, I don't really give a shit. But she fucked, like, after telling me that she wanted a divorce. She pretty much almost broke up two families in a week. She met up with her ex-boyfriend, who is married and had a kid
Whoops.
and
Ooh.
fucked him. And the only reason I found out about it is because his wife reached out to me and told me what was going on because she found out.
Wow.
And then when that didn't work, or literally after I found out, I'm not kidding you, I was working third shift. I found that out while I was at work. I went directly to the house. You know, again, we were already in the process of whatever, figuring out separation or whatever. But I came home and I woke her up and I said, you would rather break up another family instead of fucking trying to fix ours? Like,
That's
I
tough.
was so pissed off, like, and like just screaming at her, and she's like, well, I guess so, like, and I just, oh man, like, so yeah, there's been a lot of shit that she like, and then yeah, that didn't work out because they ended up wanting to try to fix their marriage, because so she had kind of knew that they were kind of rocky, their relationship, their marriage, and so she
Mm.
was going to try to be that wedge
And
to
she
finish
almost
it.
she almost ruined that.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yep. And then that didn't work out, so now ever since then she's been with who ended up being a neighbor down the street from our house where we lived,
Hmm.
and talking about kids and stuff like that very early on in the relationship, because this is what ended up happening is a lot of the things that we didn't see eye to eye on. She didn't ever think about actually having a real conversation about anything with me ever, about anything that was bothering her. And she would say that it was because I would get crabby, and like she found it hard to talk to me about things. And I said, yeah, you know what? It was really hard probably to talk to me, because for so many years I felt so useless, and like just my feelings, nothing mattered to you. And so when you try to talk to me about things, yeah, like sometimes I would get crabby because like we weren't ever talking about the things that needed to be talked about, and I was depressed and I was upset, and like anytime I tried to talk about fixing our relationship, it got nowhere. So yeah, I was crabby. And I gained a lot of weight, and there's a lot of things that happened because of, like the way things went. But yeah, like one of the things was is she was upset because like I said I would joke around, and she says like, oh, that she took it as me being serious, but I would joke around and say that if we ever had another kid, that I would leave her. Like, okay, I'm not going to literally do that. Like I was joking about it, and there was some truth to the part of just not wanting to have another kid. It wasn't that I didn't want to have another kid. It was that I was looking at things logically. Like, we were already always stressed out about money and not having money for things. Should we really be having another kid if we're already like can't afford shit and running up our charge cards and all this because we're struggling already? Should we really throw another kid into that? No. Yes, I would like to have another kid, but it's just not something we should be doing right now. And two, we got to fix this marriage first. Like, before we start talking about another kid, we need to fix this marriage. So those were my reasons for not wanting another kid. But
I
she didn't, because of
just real
that.
quick,
Yeah.
I gotta say I commend you for that, because most people think another child will fix the relationship.
No, yeah, no. I like, cuz I'll be honest, like, I'm thankful to God or whatever, if he if he's out there, that I do have my kids. But like, honestly, like this is going to be really sad, but it's true. Like, it was kind of that way for my daughter. Like, I was like, it's sad, but like I truly felt during that time when she wanted to have another kid that, holy shit, like I'm actually gonna feel like I feel important right now for once. Like she needs me right now for this kid. And like it sucks. Like that it had to be, that I needed having another kid was when I could finally feel. But then of course, like after she's born, she didn't need me anymore for that. So then it went back to the me having to ask for things all the time and being rejected and trying to put in effort and like times where she's laying in bed on her phone and I'm just sitting there like staring at her like this and she doesn't even realize that I'm like trying to get her attention or you know like it was, oh, go to bed. And yeah, so there's a lot of that shit that just went on for so long. And then of course she tried blaming me starting to do podcasting and stuff a lot. But it's like, hold up. I said, that like when I started doing the podcasting and stuff, I told you right out, if you ever, like movie nights, if you need me, all you've got to do is tell me that. And that's the point that I had gotten to. I had gotten to the point of where I was I was sick of putting all the effort in and not getting anything from her side, that now it's your time to step up and show me that you are able to put effort into it. And so like I kind of like I still put in effort, but is like I need you right now. I need you to tell me that you want me. Like I've been telling you that I want you and I've been trying to like asking for you all the time. Like you have never done that. It's your turn now. Like that's kind of what happened. Like I told her right out, like like Corey and Ed and like you guys appreciated my time and me coming on the show and putting in the effort to doing the show. Like I was appreciated here. I wasn't appreciated at home. Like I wasn't appreciated in our relationship. So yeah, I went somewhere to do something that I enjoyed doing and felt appreciated because you weren't doing that for me. Like, and I wanted you to show me that you appreciated me and you couldn't. Instead you gave up on the relationship altogether and didn't even want to try. And then yeah, tell me that you haven't loved me for 3 years but kept me around, after getting your breast reduction surgery and I'm helping you replace bandages and I'm coming home after work and doing shit in the morning and cleaning around the house, not because you asked me to, but because like I was doing it. And then I would get up early and get dinner ready and take care of the kids until you got home. And, like I was doing all this stuff and like, yeah, I just never felt appreciated. Like, and so like you
I, wa-
start to question whether that person that I fell in love with originally was real. Like, was that person real? Like, that's where the narcissist stuff starts to come in. And because she claims that those nights when I was working third shift and I was never home, that she was crying herself to sleep for so long, but you never showed me those emotions. So how do I know that those were real? Like, how do I know that those were real? Like, because unfortunately, with a narcissist, they don't know, they don't have real emotions. Like, and I needed to see those. Like, I needed to see that because you weren't showing me that when I honestly there was times where I came crying to her about how awful I felt and how shitty, like I just wanted our marriage to get better and our relationship to get better. And I came to you as a man crying and you consoled me in the moment, but those things that I talked about that were bothering me never changed. So therefore what I did that and it didn't matter. enough for you to want to change. So again, like, was I married to a narcissist? Like, I don't know. Like, I want to think that no, because you know what that also means? That also means she doesn't really actually love our kids either, if she's a narcissist, because they can't even love their own kids. They're just
Hmm.
they're just extension of themselves that they can manipulate and control and try to turn into them. Like it's it's fucked up. Like, narcissism is a really fucked up thing, and it's a mental thing. um and like, you want to feel bad about people who have mental disabilities, but like, this one it rides that borderline of like, I do feel sorry. Like, if she is one, I do feel sorry that she can never feel real love and will always be miserable for the rest of their life. But at the same time, it is so fucking destructive and hurtful.
Yeah.
Like, it's a difficult one. It's a difficult mental illness that I don't know how to feel, like, because it is like, it just destroy everyone around them to feel better about themselves. Like, that's what they do. So
How long were y'all married, if you don't mind me
thir-
asking?
13 years almost.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Damn.
So it's and like
And
and
two
I
kids, right?
yeah, 2 kids. Yeah. And yeah, and and the thing is when you're dealing with a narcissist, it's the whole zero contact thing. But you can't do that when you have kids, man. Not when
Yeah.
they're young. You can't. So, like, what the fuck do you do? Like, if that is the case, like, I need to go into therapy. Like, I was in therapy for a little bit. I need to go into it and work there's a lot I got to work on myself. And like, I had talked in the other show about, or whatever, about being in a relationship too early. And that's the thing, is like, I need to really work on myself and stay single until I do that, because it's not going to be healthy for me. It's not going to be, I don't want to hurt someone else because of where I'm at, like, you know so yeah. Like that, like, there's a lot I could go on about, is with my my divorce and all that. But like, that's the gist of where I've kind of been. Like, it's been a roller coaster, up and down. Like, I love this person, but at the same time, man, do I fucking hate them. Like, because like I said, it just, I feel like I did a lot of trying, and I did a lot of effort, and there just was not anything from the other side. And then, like, the whole reason she left is because I stopped paying attention to her. And it's like, what? Like, what are you talking about? Like, and I tell her, like, yeah, well, okay, you've been not paying attention to me, it feels like, for 10 plus years. Well, yeah, but you stopped paying attention to me, you gave up. I'm like, like, it's just no one, like, arguing about it with her. She just doesn't ever get it. Like, she doesn't get that, like, like, I wouldn't have ignored you, or been as distant as I did eventually become, if you hadn't, like, like, kept that, our connection strong, and like, did what we had, like, got married for. Like, I tell her right out, like, the things that you said when we got married, I said, are some of the biggest lies that you've told our entire relationship, because you never once tried to fix this. And marriage is, like, everyone knows it's not easy.
Do you
and
think,
and
sorry, do you think
no.
it was all insincere from the beginning, or do you think it's just a matter of the fact that she changed? Because sometimes I do get kind of scared, and I've seen it in some couples that've been together for a long time where they're like, "Oh, he or she is not like how I met them," you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think it is part of that, but I think part of it of the thing is with like everyone does change. I do believe that no one ever, like, if you don't change throughout your life, then you, like, I don't feel like you're really living, if that makes sense. Like, I think everyone changes, but when that neglect and stuff that she was doing and
Mm,
was kind of stunting our connection from growing and staying connected. Like, once you aren't staying connected and then you're growing, now you're growing apart because you're not connected anymore.
mhm,
And so I think everyone does change, but as long as you keep that connection, like, you will change and grow together. Like, I do think that's kind of what happened. Is, yeah, there was a lot of change in both of us, but that connection was lost.
mhm,
And so we weren't changing and growing together, you know
mhm.
like, and like, there was a lot of things, like, I'll admit, like, through the depression and all the things that were coming from that connection being lost, like, I didn't enjoy those years, when my kids were younger, as much as I should have been. And it sucks cuz, like, I loved my kids and all that, but I mean, depression is depression. Like, it doesn't matter how
Yeah,
much
dude.
you love someone.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter. Like, it's going to suck and it's going to be hard to truly enjoy anything when you're depressed.
Mhm.
And yeah, and, like, there were times that, like, I should have been there more to help her with the kids and things like that. But, like, again, it was that constant neglect of me, and kind of, just being pushed away and feeling like she doesn't need me. She doesn't need me here. Like, like, that's what she was creating. And then to turn around and try to say, well, you should have been there more for the kids. It's like, like, I really wanted to be, but I needed you to be there with me for the kids, you know?
I like how you mentioned that because I feel like I've seen a lot of spousal relationships like get really strained as soon as kids show up. It's like
Yeah.
it's
Mhm,
almost like one of the adults checks out of the whole process. And it's not even like they intentionally do it. It's more like like and normally you see it more on fathers than why than fathers than mothers. Like the
mhm,
dad immediately like checks out. Like usually like the dad doesn't like think to even like to be a fixture in a child's life until like the child's like that age where they don't need to rely on crying and bottles and diaper changes
mhm,
and all that stuff. Like usually that's the dynamic. And like by the time they get to the point where like the kids like old enough to where the dad's like actually engaged because like it's a small functioning adult at that point. And then
mhm,
the mom's checked out because she's like, I've been doing all this shit for the
Burnt
past
out.
4 or 5 years.
mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And like, I haven't been, like, officially diagnosed, but my sister, actually this year was diagnosed with autism. Like, she is on the spectrum. And from I don't I, don't quote me. I'm not a doctor or anything, but from what she told me, like, that the women usually don't get autism unless both of their parents are on the spectrum.
Mm.
Really?
I don't know how true that is. Like I said, don't quote me on that, but I like, looking that stuff up, because I was, diagnosed as a child with ADHD. But looking into some of the stuff, with autism, like, I do, like, seriously think that, like, I might be on the spectrum as well in some aspect. Now, like, there's different, levels of it, obviously. Like, I mean, you see people with autism that literally cannot function, like, as an adult, like, at all, like, in some cases. That's the very, extreme level of it. But like the sensory things, like I do when I'm not on my medication and stuff, like when I've been off of like anxiety medications and all that, um things get really bad. And like I have where certain noises will just make me just like feel like, oh, just want to scream, and just like like push me to anger for like just like it just doesn't make any sense why I would be so angry at a sound. But a sound can make me feel so like just, and I have that with certain things. And and like, yeah, like I was it like there were times during, like when my kids were younger and stuff, where like I just couldn't deal with anything, like just by the sound of even just crying, or like, and that's not normal. Like like if your kids are crying, like you should be like, you want to do everything to, and obviously I did want to do everything, to help them and hope that they are feeling better and all that stuff. But there were points of like where it was just like kind of drive me crazy, and it would, like irritate me uh at times. But like, yeah, I think it was just a mix of just so many things going on, the depression, and like, not being on medication when I should have been. And I did eventually go on it, but I mean, there's just a lot of things that yeah, like I mean, having a child, like I was so excited,
Mhm.
like I was really excited for it. But yeah, there was just a lot of changes going on, and it really threw everything, kind of into a crazy, mess. And like, I mean, I tried to be understanding, and like I said, like I understand that things were going to change, and you try to adapt with those changes, and try to, but all that time though, like I was struggling to try to keep, like get our relationship to be worked on. But you have these kids, and you have, like all this stuff going on. And, and so like I understand that it would have been hard to work on some certain things maybe during that time. But there were so many opportunities though throughout those years
Mhm.
to actually sit and actually have a conversation about things, and talk with me about things, and try to, improve our relationship. And she just never seemed interested in it, or never really wanted to. And like she said, like, I've always had a hard time, talking to you about things. And I don't like, I don't like confrontation. And I'm like, well, like that might be so, but if any of this meant anything to you, like you would have fought through that
Mhm.
to try to talk to me about it, because I
Yeah.
was constantly trying to do something about it. But it wasn't getting that from you. So like, you were telling me that I was never worth fighting for ever. Like none of this that we've done for this 13 years was, and before, was ever enough to continue to try to fight for. And the kids not having to experience, like like you should never stay together just for the kids. but but like there's so many things that you got to think about when, like when you think about trying to fix something. And most people do try
Yeah.
to fix it, and but I didn't get that, like. And the second that she told me she was done, she was already off onto some other dick.
Mm.
like it, so it, yeah. So it's been, yeah, that's why I took so long, and still like, but I'm, I want to come back on the shows and stuff and do stuff that I've was always enjoyed doing, and talking with you guys, and just, forgetting about life for a while and just thinking about video games and stuff like that, like more often. But like that's why I took off to people, that have kind of probably been wondering. I mean, sure, I'm sure, like I said, I've kind of talked about stuff a little bit, but yeah, that's kind of why I took off. Is it's just been really, really a struggle. A lot of anxiety, a lot of everything. And that was the thing too, is like I had never really had anxiety issues until everything that went on, and the last couple of years of our marriage, and all that stuff. Like I had never had anxiety like really break through, is something that I had a problem with until my marriage, just getting worse and worse and worse. So
So I have one final question for you.
yeah, sure.
How did the kids take all of this?
Hmm. Well, my
Or
daughter
or
made.
or
Well,
do you
no, I can talk about it. Like I'll I'll get into it. Like my daughter full on just fucking made me cry so hard one day. Um, but I think it's really hard to say. I think I think there definitely was a lot of stuff that happened that was very, 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 very like hurtful, um to them, with them understanding to the level that they can of what's going on. But but they I think especially my son really, really has tried to hide it, and I
Mhm.
don't want him to. Like, like I don't want to say like, hey, like bring things up and try to pull emotions out of them. But like my son is a lot like me. He's very, very, very emotional and caring, and easily hurt by things. And I do think it bothered him a lot. Um but more than he would let on. And I'm kind of the same, like when it comes to people dying and things like that. As much as I'm dying inside, I'm always the one that's there to console everyone, and be the rock, like I can grieve this later. Right now everyone else needs me to be there for them, like that.
Yeah.
I've always threw myself kind of proverbially in front of the bullet, like when it comes to stuff like that. And then, in unhealthy ways, I've a lot of times held things in, and like, but I think he's kind of like that, and so he doesn't really show how much it hurt him.
Mhm.
But the night that I cried, my daughter came up to me once crying. Daddy, it's so hard not, seeing you all, like, and
Oh,
I just, oh my God, like, just, I died, like, just
Mm.
instantly the second that she did. And I'm like, I know, I'm like, I know it is hard, and it's hard for me too. But like, like
what are their ages, if you don't mind?
well, she just turned 9. She had her golden birthday
Oh,
um this month, and Max is 11.
okay.
So, yeah, he's a couple of years older than her. But both of them, I do think were affected by it and stuff. And there's some things that are really hard and upsetting.
Mm.
Um they're already considering her boyfriend as like their other dad, which she's all for. Like, okay, it's fine, we should be teaching them that,
Mm.
It's like, yeah, but you're not
Mm.
married even, and you've only been together for not even a year yet. I don't know. Like, I just don't even. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of things that are going on that I've aired on Facebook that I probably shouldn't have, but
Oh
there's
yeah.
just a lot of things. There's a lot of things that that are really just really really upsetting and make me think that, you know, the only reason she's with this dude is because she wants that other kid, and she will stick with him to get what she wants. And I, unfortunately, that's what I think is going on. I don't know for a fact, but when you're talking about kids like that early on in the relationship with someone, and talking about him not going anywhere that early on in the relationship, like so sure of yourself that you guys are practically can get married right now because you're so sure that he's gonna always be there, man. Like, I because she wanted that kid really bad with me, but I
Yikes.
didn't want it. And so I I told her right out one day. I said, yeah, you're the only reason you're with him and you're with that loser who, you know, is because you don't want to leave him now. Because you know what? Then you would have to start all over again and finding someone else, and your time is running out for that child that you want. She was not happy with me saying that to her, but you know, like,
Hey,
that's what you make it seem like. That's
sometimes
what.
the truth fucking hurts.
Hmm.
Hmm.
And I don't, you know, I don't know, but like, I honestly, I think that's what's going on in her head is she's she's 41, and she wanted a kid, and she found someone who will stick with her right now, and she wants a kid. I honestly think that's what's going on. Don't know. You know, I can't say for sure, but man, really makes it seem like it.
Well, man, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean seriously, like I mean, like this with one thing, like we definitely want to take the time to catch up with you and stuff like that. Like to
Hmm.
all of our longtime listeners here at the Boss Rush Network and stuff, like they know who you are and stuff, and like we never 100% like disclosed why you just kind of like
Yeah.
fell out with the network and stuff like that. We
Yeah.
respected your privacy and your choices and things like that, and we
Yeah.
also know like like life comes at you fast, and like you sometimes like this fancy land that we live in where we're podcasters and social media influencers and stuff like that, sometimes it has taken backseat to real life things and stuff like that. So yeah,
Hmm.
we loved you, we missed you, man,
Yeah. No,
and yeah,
yeah.
we're always thinking about you and pulling for you, you
Yeah.
and your family.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. And it's, you know, like, I, I actually said something to her today. I said, you know, like, her parents are older. Her brother and sister are like 10 years older than her. So her parents are getting old, and her dad is, you know, getting older, and, you know, has problems and stuff. And I fucking love her dad a lot. Like, he is a lot like me. And I, you know, and like, I know I'm not married to her parents or anything like that, near her family, as they say. But like, you know, that's a lot of years to look up to someone,
Yeah.
you know, and that, and you know, like, I don't, like, now they're getting older, and who knows how much longer they're going to be around, and I don't get to see them as much anymore now.
Mm.
Like, she took that away from me too, like,
Hmm.
someone that I love as my father that I never had. Like, my father was an abusive drunk, you know, alcoholic, and her dad is one of the sweetest people I've ever met. And unfortunately, her mom is My ex-wife is similar to her mom, where like she's kind of could be mean. Like her mom would be mean to her dad, or is mean to her dad just for liking football and wanting to watch football. Oh, you want to watch that shit all the time? Like, I just want to watch football. It's like, dude, he enjoys watching football. Just let him be. Like, why do you need to like treat him like shit because he wants to watch football all the time? Like, and I think that's where part of that comes from, is her mom. Like, those are her things that my ex-wife picked up from her mom, like kind of got brought into the relationship. And just, you know I don't know, I think there's a lot of that influence is the reason why there's a lot of contention between us. And but like, yeah, I not only losing a wife, but you're losing a family that I care about deeply and don't get to see now as much. And like, it's there was I told her, like, there is a lot to this to fight for, that I've been trying to fight for over the years. you know It's not just you. There's a lot of things that I was fighting, the
Hmm.
reasons that I was fighting, that apparently didn't mean as much to you, to want to try to do that as well. So it's deep, deep, but
Yeah. Um, glad you were glad you got to talk about it. I mean,
hmm
I know that you've been going through some stuff, but like LeRon said, there's a line to respecting your privacy and seeing if you're
hmm
okay.
yeah. hmm
And I know I'm not the greatest at straddling that line, but um, I'm glad you're here and okay. And
yeah.
I'm sorry that
Yeah.
you had to kind of go through that by yourself. You know, it's
Well,
it's hard.
yeah. Well, the thing is like, like, I've been trying to do stuff. That's my problem, is like, I've my whole life, I've dealt with a lot of things. Again, like, I had a abusive, drunk alcoholic father. And so, like, it was me and my sister. And there was times where, when he was angry, I'd have my sister come in my room, um, and kind of be her protector at times. Um, and but I, like, when I get depressed and I go through things like this, so as much as I know that it's so much more, like, better for you to reach out to friends. And like, I again, I always try to just take it on by myself. And it's a bad habit that I have. And like, so, like, don't, like, don't for a second, like, think like, oh, I should have reached, because, like, that's the thing, is like, I was kind of pushing, and a lot of times pushing people away to try to deal with it. Like, because I have to sometimes just sit with my own mind and really go over and analyze things and try to put it all together before I can even really talk to people about it. Like, I've got to figure it out first before I even know what I need to go to my friends to help me talk about, I guess, is a way to put it. So, like, I did eventually, start going to friends and talking about stuff. But a lot of that is like, me kind of disappearing from the show and stuff, was like, I needed to go to that place that I go to try to figure stuff out. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, like, don't like, no one, like, none of my friends or anything should ever feel bad for not reaching out or anything, because chances are I probably would have been more inclined to kind of be pushing somewhat away. like, just not to be like mean or, like, but it is just something I had to do. I have to do. And I know like in a lot of ways it's not healthy, but I don't know. I haven't been healthy. So, like, I mean, there's a lot going on. So, but yeah, like I wanted to talk to people about it when I was ready to talk about it, and, you know, and move. And like I said, like, I want to be able to, from this point on, like, come on these shows and, be happy and talk about, the fun things. And, I'm sure I'll still bring up stuff like off of the show or whatever, because I feel like, I kind of wanted to get it out what I need to say, today, and just kind of let that be what it is, and kind of try to move forward and just enjoy, talking with you guys and not bringing the show down. So, but yeah, so
All right. Well, you know what? I think this is a wonderful place to wrap up the show. One more time though, Jesse. Thank you for sharing that moment with us.
yeah,
It's a
no,
lot, but I also believe just for the tone of our show and stuff like that, there's always somebody out there that can probably like listen to this and understand some things and also empathize and also realize the situation they may also be in because yeah, like just I know the thing about narcissists and stuff like that, but man, like sometimes you puts in perspective that like people put like the welfare of their own children,
hmm,
on to the side,
yeah,
for their own personality. Like I'm just gonna call it a trait. I'm not gonna call it a flaw or anything, a personality trait and stuff like that.
yeah,
It's sometimes people need to be reminded, and hopefully somebody out there that was listening today you know, can see that trait in one of their loved ones or spouses or whatever, and possibly try to get ahead of it before like it becomes like a critical mass situation. So thank you for that. And
yeah.
yeah,
And again, like, like I said, like, I don't know for certain that she is one, but
mm,
like, like, I also, there's a lot of things that are missing that I didn't get to experience that would tell me otherwise,
well, if it looks,
and
walks, and quacks like a duck.
yeah,
It's a goose.
yeah.
Sorry, I know this is a serious conversation. I just wanted to bring a little
No.
a little laughter.
Well, and I always appreciate humor, so I deal with a
Yeah.
lot of things with humor. So I did, like, there was some jokes that I had made and things to deal with a lot of it throughout this time that I've been dealing with stuff. But so yeah, humor is
All right.
always appreciated. That's how I deal with things anyway.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and outro us. Thanks a lot for tuning in to an all-new episode of Boss Rush After Dark, the alternative podcast show for the Boss Rush Network. We're going to go ahead and say goodnight to you guys. Come back for more. We're always going to be here to talk about things that are not always content appropriate for our other anchor shows on the network. We love you all, and have a wonderful and safe night. And if I haven't already said it, Happy New Year.
Yeah,
Bye.
right. Those 2s and 3s at the end.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, take care.
Bye.